Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janie Lee Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast. I hope you've had a good week and managed to get some sunshine. God, isn't it been amazing to actually catch some rays? I hope you've been in a part of the country where you've been able to do that. Or if you're in another country, you'll probably be laughing because it's all we ever talk about, right? Our weather. We had our coach training weekend last weekend. It was just fantastic. Honestly, I never tire of being in a room with people who are sober and excited about sobriety and looking forward to sharing their journey and supporting other people. Honestly, it's magical. It was a really great weekend, really was. So, as I always say, if that is something that interests you, get in quick, as it were, because we've got a training coming up in June, the end of June, 27th, 28th of June. We kick off with 2 days in person, which is where so much magic happens. And then we have online sessions around that. And after that, the price of the training is rising. So if you want the most affordable option, then come and join us for the June training. You know where to find me. Oh, and in fact, there's a webinar May 14th, Thursday, May 14th. I'm going to be in conversation with one of the coaches I've trained, Polly. So it's a great way of hearing about what it might mean to be a sober coach, to be a life coach in this kind of field, working with grey area drinkers. And also we'll hear from Polly, who's actually done it and is doing it and is loving this work. It's so rewarding. But there'll be many of you listening thinking, I have no idea what she's on about. I haven't even quit the booze yet. So I hope that we can inspire you. You're going to love this week's guest. Anna Wolfe she tells it all like it is. And we're going to be talking about the fascinating topic of dating, sober sex, and just, all of that stuff that can be really, really tricky, I think, for people when they quit alcohol and then if they're in the dating game, it's like, where do you even start? So we're going to be unpicking some of that. But just before we get into that, I can't let this podcast go by without one of my little rants. And this one has been over the news all week. The Green Party MP, Hannah Spencer from Manchester, who won the by-election in February, has been calling out the drinking culture in Parliament. And it is quite incredible. She has managed to get all sides raging, actually. To quote her, she said, "You can smell the alcohol when people are in between votes." I mean, what a thing. She really has started something with this, because if you think about it, we can't do that in any other profession. I mean, when I think back to the 80s, late 80s, when I first started working in radio, I mean, they did go out at lunchtime and drink for sure. Certainly the kind of journalism world was quite boozy. People would, one of my earliest memories of working in radio is being in the pub with Chris Evans at lunchtime, and then kind of going back and doing and going on air and doing a show. So, it was a thing back then for sure, but for goodness sake, we've moved on, haven't we? I mean, really, we've absolutely moved on. And the reality is that, a teacher can't drink while they're at work. A nurse can't drink while they're at work. Obviously drivers can't drink. A surgeon can't drink. Pilot can't drink. I don't know any workplace actually where it would be okay to kind of come back from a break smelling of alcohol. I actually can't think of anywhere. But the MPs, who are making decisions that affect every single one of us, can absolutely walk into the voting lobby stinking of booze. And I think everybody believes her when she says that, because I think you can tell, can't you? You can often tell. But what I didn't know until she called it out was that there are literally, isn't it over 20? I forget the exact number, but there are loads of bars and restaurants serving taxpayer subsidised alcohol in Westminster. I mean, loads. We're talking like in the 20s. Okay. So it's subsidized. We're paying for it. You have to have an MP's pass to get in, and literally they're drinking on our tab and then voting on what happens to us. So, I mean, it's incredible. Now, this is not a political conversation because, this gets complicated for me because while I do think that she's absolutely right on this one, I don't agree with other stuff. I know the Green Party's got a policy on drugs that includes making heroin available on prescription. I think that's the fairest way to say it. I've got real serious concerns about normalizing access to substances that just completely devastate lives. But it's a conversation for another time, I suppose. But on this one, on MPs drinking at work, I mean, she's absolutely right, and the way she's being attacked for saying it from all sides is incredible. Because I think that I don't know, I'm guessing about 85% of the public would agree. Whether you drink or you don't drink, that's not the issue here. But not at work, because literally, as I've already said, if you showed up in any other job smelling of alcohol, you would be out. So why should the people running the country be different? It's a thing for sure. I think this one's going to run. So, anyways, I'd love to know your view on it. I'd be interested to know what you think. Just a heads up on a completely different note, just before we head into the interview, I'm going to be speaking at the Mind Body Spirit show on May the 22nd. It's an incredible event. If you've never been to a MBS wellbeing show, they are amazing. There are incredible speakers. There's all kinds of stuff going on, from yoga classes to sound baths to healing sessions. There's a huge marketplace where you can buy absolutely everything connected with spirituality and well-being. It's a real vibe. They're great shows. It's at Olympia in London. I'm on the main stage this year for the very first time. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm going to be talking all about being happy, healthy, sober, or sober curious. That's the title of the talk. And I'm really excited. So it's Friday, 22nd of May. My talk is at 3:45. Get there a bit earlier. You'll see my good friend Lynn Franks. She's fantastic too. And if you're going to be coming, please use my link in the show notes. I'll pop in the show notes to get you tickets, and let me know, and we'll have a cup of tea or something. It'd be great to meet some podcast listeners at that. And then also on the 6th of June, I'm going to be speaking at the Be More You event. This is in Derby in the East Midlands. It's actually at the Radisson Blu Hotel near East Midlands Airport, so very easily accessible if you're in that part of the world. And, everyone's always saying, "Oh, you're so London bound, so southern." So I'm going up to what used to be my hometown. That's where I'm from originally, from Nottingham, so not too far away. So anyways, that's Saturday the 6th of June at the Be More You event. Really looking forward to that. I'm going to be sharing all kinds of stuff around, well, being more you, getting rid of those limiting beliefs, just stepping into your authenticity. Obviously, for me, quitting alcohol sits right under that piece. It's one of the most important pieces. So again, I'll put the link in the show notes. It'd be just great to meet some podcast listeners. I'm also planning a family constellations day, so drop me a message if you're going to be interested in that. I really hope so. It's something that came up on our training last weekend. We end up talking about it so much because it's just so powerful. So I'm going to put that in place, and also another live podcast event in London. So all of that is happening in due course. So keep your eye on the soberclub.com/events, because everything will be listed there. Have you ever wondered whether your alcohol-free journey was leading you somewhere bigger? Maybe you once drank more than you wanted to, always functioning, never at rock bottom, but now you're free and you feel that real pull to help others find the same freedom. There are millions of grey area drinkers who are not in crisis, but they're quietly struggling and they're longing for support from someone who truly gets it. With the Sober Club accredited coach training, you can become a holistic sober coach, guiding people through mindset, lifestyle, and alcohol-free well-being. It's not clinical recovery work, but it is so rewarding. Here's what one of our coaches, Polly, had to say.
I did my training in June 2023, and best thing I ever did. I worked in education. I set up the business and started to do it while I was working, and then slowly went down to 3 days a week and started to build. And now I'm doing my coaching full time. It's not just about doing the training, it's about personal growth as well. I came out a different person completely. The 2 days that you're on with Janie is incredible. And the group that you're with, you have that real connection with that group, and that continues. And for me, it has been life-changing. So I'd absolutely, without a doubt, recommend it.
If this speaks to you, check out the show notes. Make sure you join us for our next free webinar. This is a fascinating topic for those of us who have quit the booze, or even if you're thinking about it. My guest is Anna Wolfe, who has the fabulously titled podcast, How to Get Wet When You're Dry. Oh, this is going to be an interesting chat. Welcome, Anna. Thank you so much for joining us.
No pressure.
What a fantastic title. Come on, that's just perfect, isn't it?
Thanks.
You better tell us what you mean. I can't possibly begin to imagine what it is you're talking about. But it's a thing, isn't it? It's such a thing. And when, on an absolutely serious note, when we quit the booze, for some people, and some are my ripe old age, we can honestly look back and go, oh my God, I've actually never had sex sober. What a scary thing. How scary is that when you actually think about it?
Do you know what's so funny is I didn't think about it until I was in the situation where I was sober and I was seeing somebody and I was stood there. And it felt like,
different.
It felt like I was at a school disco on stage in front of everybody and I didn't know how to dance.
Wow. Tell us a bit about your background. Tell us how you got to this point. What happened for you?
Sure. So I have been sober for 4 years, a couple of weeks ago. So time has flown by. I always say that sobriety is like dog years. It feels like I've just had so many lifetimes in the last few years, but essentially, so I came into sobriety because my life reached a real rock bottom with the drinking, but it also coincided with a severe eating disorder. And I didn't know that it was very common for those two things to coexist. Yeah. And so, my relationship with myself and my body was skewed and really sad for up until I was 27, when I decided, oh my goodness, I need help. And I say decided, I feel like it was decided more me because it was just so painful that I thought, okay, I'm just going to give something one last try. Yeah. And then so fast forward to now, I don't know, with the podcast, I thought that life was going to be unbelievably boring when I stopped drinking. I also had no idea who I was. And I feel like there can be in the wellness world and stuff, this sort of rhetoric of like, you have to be peak perfection and on this sort of just like striving for being this like wonderful person now that you put the drink down all the time. And that just simply isn't it. It's constant exploration. And the only reason I'm sober is because I had friends who are also sober who said everything. They shared everything that they had been through, whether it was like humiliating and saying that they threw up on their ex's sweater and mailed it to him when they were drunk, or whether it was just saying that they were emotionally struggling. And I just wanted to create something that brought in all of these layers to people and just that it can be fun.
Yeah. But what actually happened for you then? You say you actually hit a rock bottom. How did you get free?
So how did I get free? Big question. I got very lucky in the sense I called my dad, and I love my dad with all of my heart, but he's a German man, so has the emotional intelligence of a flip-flop. But his wife is a therapist, and she heard me on the end of the phone and just thought, your daughter really needs help. And the thing is, I didn't think I had a drinking problem. I was so focused on my eating disorder and thought that's what the root of my pain was. In the same way I thought eventually the drinking was the root of my pain, that I went to rehab. And I want to stress that you don't need rehab, and that nowadays, because of NHS funding and stuff, it can be a real privilege to get to go. But I was in rehab for 3 months, and the entire time I was there, I did not mention my drinking because I was in denial. But ultimately, I had issues with binge eating and anorexia and bulimia for 10 years. I went from obese to underweight within 1 year. Wow. And my drinking really coincided with that. It was just very cyclical. It's like I felt awful about my body. I would drink, then I would binge eat while I was drinking, then I'd starve myself. And it was just this horrible cycle until I reached a point of, I'm going to kill myself. If something doesn't happen right now, I'm going to kill myself. Life just didn't have color anymore or choice.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know. I never forget that feeling when I talk about it. It was just awful. And I didn't know that there was another side.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It just feels as though that's who you are.
Yeah.
What was the thing that helped? What changed it for you? What was the catalyst, if you like, for obviously we know now, don't we, that what's going to underpin everything you've spoken about there is a lack of self-esteem, a lack of self-love. You at some level you didn't think you were worth it, right?
Yeah.
And but there was enough survival to be able to get you to that, to get you past. So what was the thing that helped you most?
Firstly, I was just desperate. And then it was other people. It was other people who had been through what I had been through and come out the other side of it. Because I did not trust myself, but I trusted the people around me. I was meeting these people who looked like they had their lives together and had home insurance and organized their diaries and remembered to buy milk and weren't going out and publicly humiliating themselves anymore. And they were happy. And I thought, oh my God, okay, maybe something is possible. And then one of the big things that they taught me is the power of community and the power of sharing.
Yeah.
And then also doing things for other people.
Yeah,
That's what
absolutely.
changed.
Kindness is good for you. Yeah.
Honestly, I really believe in like finding yourself by forgetting yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And just being taught how to do that, because I was in self-obsession my entire existence. And I'm just like, which is boring. And they've showed me the way. Yeah.
I'm guessing you did some work. I know we will get to the podcast in a
No,
moment.
no,
but
no, no.
It's fascinating because I know there'll be a lot of people listening who are like, oh God, that's me actually. You know, I'm guessing you did some stuff around early traumas when you were diving into everything, and something along the lines of adverse childhood experiences. Did that sort of thing come up?
So that it did come up, and I think I realized in rehab, well, I realized retrospectively looking back at rehab that when I was speaking about my upbringing and my childhood, etc., I did a lot of pointing fingers and a lot of blaming. Whereas now I'm in a place with it where I really just see that everyone just did the best they could.
Absolutely.
And they did pretty great considering specific circumstances or things they've been through. But something that was part of my story was, I always feel so cheesy when I say that, something that was part of my story was, like for a lot of women I know in recovery, when you're drinking, you're in really dangerous situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so there was sexual assault, things of that nature that happened. But like the first time it happened, I was 13 and I wasn't drinking, right? And I think that sort of, and then I tried to speak to someone about it, but it was very taboo. And I think that instilled that thing in me, in my brain of, oh no, that's bad. These things are bad. I don't talk about those things. And secrecy became normal for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, yeah.
Absolutely. And when you hold a secret, it's so detrimental in so many ways. I'm a sober coach, but in addition to that, I'm also a family constellations practitioner. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's too big a concept to go into now, but it's unbelievable for unpicking early traumas. Absolutely incredible in a really short space of time. It's one of the most powerful things I've ever done, apart from quitting alcohol, probably the most powerful thing I've ever done. But the reason I share that with you is because one of the things we talk about in constellations, and I'm sure you covered this on when you were doing all the work that you've done, but one of the things we talk about a lot is this concept of the stuff that happens to us, certainly up to the age of 18, is where our beliefs are formed, right? That's where we make those beliefs about ourselves. So it might just be something tiny that somebody said, a teacher or somebody well-meaning or a parent, whatever. And those early traumas are what shape us. And what's fascinating about the adverse childhood experiences, there's like a quiz, a little thing you can do. It's only 10 questions. And some of the questions are relatively innocuous, by the way. They're not all about abuse and trauma, which you think they might be. They're more innocuous. But the reality is, if you score something like 3 or more, I think it's 3, they say, don't quote me on that, but it's a small number to have to tick, then you're massively, like 90% more likely to have an addiction in later life.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But when you realize that, you realize that it's not your fault. Right?
No,
it's not your fault. And yet we spend so many years thinking, oh, it's me. I'm an addictive personality. I'm binge eating now. I'm this now. I'm that now. We take it on ourselves, and yet actually it's not your fault. It's linked to trauma, but then that doesn't necessarily mean, oh, it's my parents' fault, they fucked me up. It's not their fault either.
Exactly.
It's not your fault. But the great thing is it can be your responsibility now. That's the lovely thing, isn't it? When you do this work.
Exactly.
And when you see that responsibility as an opportunity.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. I think it's so important to hold accountability and compassion in the same hand.
Yeah,
And also, yeah, stuff happened to me, right? But it doesn't define me.
absolutely.
I find when I started to come to terms with all of this in recovery, I really had a moment of feeling like those things meant that I was going to be stuck forever.
Yeah.
Admitting
absolutely.
and so I don't find it helpful for me to stare at the past, but rather just acknowledge it
Yeah.
and go, I'm an alcoholic. I have an issue with drinking. It is what it is. So what can I do going forward?
You and I have a different view on that, just so you know. I don't believe you're an alcoholic any more than I was or am. I believe I am absolutely free from the alcohol trap. There's just a difference of a nuance.
Yeah.
I would never say I'm an alcoholic. I would never stay stuck in something that was happening to me any more than I would say I'm a smokeaholic if I gave up smoking 20 years ago. That's just my take on it. But I absolutely appreciate your view is different.
Yeah, I think it's great that different people have different things that work for them.
Yeah, of course. And I don't care how anyone comes to sobriety. The fact is, if you're sober, that's the most important piece, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. But so let's get back to where we were then. So then you get to sobriety, you do your rehab and all the pieces, and you've obviously done loads of work. And then you presumably
Thank you.
have all these. You have obviously then you can then start to have the life you want. You can then, you're not stuck anymore. That's the amazing thing, isn't it? I don't think life becomes perfect, but you become much more resilient and able to cope with whatever is thrown at you. Apart from when you find yourself dating, what the hell happens now? Which is not often spoken about. So let's get back to that.
I think it's so funny because it doesn't matter who you are. Love and dating is where the smartest of people can lose all logic.
Yeah, totally.
And I love that. I think there's something so beautiful about that. I think the reason I'm obsessed with this topic is because like my relationship with myself is going to affect my relationship with other people and the world around me. And like dating is actually just a kind of symbol of where I am in me.
Yeah. And totally. When you got sober then, and you were, and presumably you were dating then, or you were about to be, or whatever, were you, let's just do the kind of regular bit first before we even get to the sex. So was it important for you that the person you dated also didn't drink? Did you, because people find that piece really difficult. If I put my details out there, if I ask a friend to recommend, how important is it that they don't drink?
So I'm very open with the fact that I don't drink. And actually I used to always make a joke before I go on a date if a guy did drink and say he'd actually have to have a personality and impress me. I just made light of it. But it isn't important to me that they don't drink, but I couldn't date somebody who was a regular drinker. If I couldn't date someone that is going on nights out and coming home smelling of booze. Yeah, I think actually it's so funny. The men that I've actually properly dated since I've gotten sober have only had a couple of drinks here and there.
Yeah.
It's just because you know the moment that someone's drinking and you can see in their eyes that you've lost them.
Yeah. There's the whole sober equals bores anagram thing. The opposite is true. Yes. Drunk people are so boring. And you're right. They glaze over. It's the hell have I just spent ages sharing something really important with you?
Exactly. And I have had to spend 4 years just being completely in myself and completely in my body all of the time. And so now the idea of not having that feels really strange to me.
Yeah.
It feels odd to me. Yeah. So no, it wasn't something that I necessarily thought about when I first got sober, but I think I would have struggled with dating someone who did drink a lot. But I got a lot of questions. I'll tell you that.
Can you imagine? For people there'll be people who are dating the second or third time around, the older people who are getting back into the dating scene. And this whole thing about the whole sex thing is really tricky because, as I say, for many people, they will never have had sex sober, which is a sobering thought for sure, isn't it? And so then when you explain to us what the issues are, I remember for myself, I couldn't really understand because if I was feeling better about myself, why did that feel so awkward? What do you think?
I think it's because it's the ultimate intimacy.
Yeah.
I think it's the ultimate intimacy, and like sober or not sober, I really think that we live in a world now where people are finding it more and more difficult to be themselves or to feel okay about themselves. We're surrounded by, can I swear? I
Yeah,
won't
of
swear.
course, absolutely.
Okay,
No,
thank
please
God.
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're surrounded by so much bullshit, and like the messaging on across social media or all of this stuff is just like awful. And like young girls, for instance, are the most depressed that they've been in I don't even
Yeah.
know how long. I think the same applies to boys also. And like dating apps have done all of these studies, and people fear rejection more than they have and feel like they're missing out on opportunities because they're like trying to play a game but don't know how to go about it. So I think it's like a combination of all of those things. And then it's a scary thing to be intimate with a person, like with your personality, even to really let someone in, especially when you've been through so much and
Yeah.
had to put so much work into getting to a place where you feel good about yourself. It's kind of sacred. So then the idea of bringing someone else into that, not just emotionally, but physically, like I found that to be a lot at first. Now I love it. But like, so I think that's probably a big part of it. And also, it doesn't matter how like Billy Big Bollocks somebody behaves, right? Everyone's insecure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's why we have this completely incorrect belief that alcohol will just loosen everything up and make us feel great. Actually, we realize it's a depressant, but I suppose for a
Yeah.
short amount of time, yes, it does help us lose our inhibitions,
But you
which
don't
is why
feel
it seemed easier
anything.
before.
Yeah. But you don't feel your body.
No, that's
I
true.
would never, ever, like, I never want to drink again, right? But I would never have drunk sex again.
No, absolutely.
Because like it kind of feels like, what's the point? It's
Mm.
like eating candy without being able to taste it.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah,
make sense to me now. And I guess like a lot of my confidence has come from being in situations that I would have previously handled with a drink
yes,
and realizing that I can get through that just completely okay. And I don't know, like my confidence is built off the back of that.
yeah, yeah, I
I
get
think
that.
it's fun. I think just the biggest thing I would say to people is just approach everything with curiosity.
Yeah, totally, totally. So what are your tips then? Come on, it's how to get wet when you dry. Give us a few tips.
Okay, so my tips for dating or my tips in terms of
Yeah, both would be good.
okay, oh my God, let me just okay, I'm gonna right off the bat say I am by no means an expert. Like the whole thing with people coming on my show is that I am still figuring it out.
Yeah, of
And
course, of course.
everyone is still
Don't
figuring it
worry, we
out.
won't hold you to it. Just
Oh my
share
God,
some
please,
tips, share some ideas.
please don't. If anyone who is dating me has dated me is listening, don't then turn off now. No, so I think I think so a few things that I really think. So the first one is I really think we need to make dating fun again. Because I
Yeah,
hear so many people going, dating sucks now. And I understand
because
it.
of the
Like,
pressure, do you think? The pressure to be a certain way?
I think so, but I also think a lot of dating is on apps now. And these things are designed to be addictive, which in itself sucks. The algorithms are designed in a way to keep us on there, to make us feel insecure at one point, and then all of a sudden we're going to get a match, etc.
Yeah, yeah,
Such
yeah,
a short window of time to judge people. But I
yeah,
really think you have to go on at least 3 dates with a person before you can really get a sense of who they are.
yeah, totally.
Actually, that's one. I would say something that I did, and it was suggested to me by a girlfriend, and this sounds really smutty, but she said, open your funnel. And,
Okay.
and by open your funnel, she meant go on dates with people that you wouldn't have necessarily said yes to. And then go on, unless they're nasty or god awful or whatever, go on 3 dates with them before you make up your mind. Because I didn't realize that I used to judge myself so much, and I didn't realize that was coming. I would judge other people too. And I think I had, especially when I was drinking, I didn't like myself. So I had these expectations on the other person to almost fix me or
Well,
see,
yeah, that can be a massive part of it, can't it? And
yeah.
also, again, it's been years since I've been on that scene. Thank God. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I'm not. But when I think back many years ago, actually, definitely didn't like myself, and also I realize now unconsciously looking for something that was missing. In my case, I was looking for a sort of father figure. All right. And that we see that all the time, don't we? People are looking for something and expecting the other person to provide a huge part of, which is crazy. No one can do that for you. You have to work on being whole first. You can't just be expecting someone to fill a gap, whether it's daddy or whatever.
Also, no pressure to them, right? I definitely, I used to date like it was an Olympic sport when I was drinking, because I just thought, okay, I need to find someone who's going to look after me, make me feel good. But then I was putting my self-worth in their hands, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's just not sustainable. And so I think really just creating a life of my own, finding the things that I like doing and still doing them. If I'm dating someone and I like them, not then just all of a sudden keeping
dropping everything.
Just not dropping everything. And then also not just I used to do so much thinking, how do they feel about me? Do they like me? How am I coming across right now? And I changed it to, do I like them?
Yeah.
Because when I was thinking the other way, it actually wasn't to do anything to do with them. And it was just me creating a fantasy and going into self-obsession about something to take myself out of me. Yeah. And so I just thought, okay, do I like this person? And then also, like, how do I want to be showing up? If I'm properly dating someone, I just touched on it, but when I didn't feel great about myself, I could be jealous. I don't know, play a game, etc. And now I just don't do that because it doesn't feel good. And I think other people feel it too. And then I just felt that I was like putting a wall between me and other people. And also, if something doesn't work out, it's meant to not work out. It's never personal. I'm so grateful for rejection because it has always led to me discovering something better in myself, or dating someone going forward who I'm a little more suited for, where I can show up in a different way. And then, I
think part of what you're saying, I think, is around this being authentic piece. And actually, when you are authentic, when you do hold on to what you know is true for you, there's something really attractive about that. But it's true. It means that everyone won't be right. Some people won't like that. I'm reminded of often when it comes to relationships, people find it really hard to set any boundaries, don't they? As you say, it's like, oh, you don't like doing that. Oh, I'll cancel my whole diary out then. I'll blow out all my friends.
Fuck that.
Yeah. But at one time, I would have been exactly that person, simply because I couldn't do boundaries. I thought that anyone who set boundaries in place was just a really mean person. But I think, again, with sobriety comes the ability to fully stand in your own sort of integrity and make a decision. And if something's a no, it's a no, and no is a complete sentence, right?
It really is. And I just do not have the energy to pretend to be something else now.
Yeah.
When I don't know if you ever had this, but I would walk into a shit club and the music would be awful. Your feet would be sticking to the carpet. The whole place stunk. And you just knew, I'm going to have to drink a lot to make this night fun. I don't have that drink now, right? So I just do not have the energy to be putting into like pretending or trying to make something fun. And I used to really want to put in all of the work with a guy because I really wanted them to like me. So I would be cracking all of the jokes or filling the silences or being whatever they wanted me to be or what I thought they wanted. And now I just match their energy. I'm okay if I sit in silence and it's fun.
Yeah, fantastic. And so tell us some of the tips for the sex bit then. What and any ideas you've heard might help someone.
This is one that gets thrown around a lot, and I'm going to be so boring and repeat it, but
no, it's not. No, there'll be people listening and they will have heard this for the first time.
Communication is a really big one, but I think you have to know what you like before you can really say to someone else what you like. And also, it's attractive to do that.
Yeah.
I think
totally,
especially as women, I feel like we're raised in some ways, in a lot of ways still, to feel ashamed about our sexuality, to have a complicated relationship with it.
I think I could be out of date here. Trust me, I'm old, but I don't remember really properly getting in touch with, in inverted commas, properly understanding my own body parts till I was having a baby. Oh, so that bit's there.
This is the thing.
Is that? It's like you don't know your blood type till you're having a baby.
This is the thing, though, right?
You don't know all the bits.
You don't know all the. I love it when people say bits. I love it when people say bits. It's so true, but it doesn't make sense to me because it is as natural a human thing as sneezing. It's so natural. Everybody has sex. Everybody, not everybody, right? But everybody, it's normal. In the same way, people going through issues with mental health or addiction, this stuff is very widespread, but we don't speak about them. And so I think that changing things up and having open conversations is really important.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I don't think it comes naturally to us. Certainly not my generation. It does not come naturally to just have that open communication. I hope it does with younger people. But I think what the other thing that's definitely changed since since I was your age is the increase in porn,
Oh my
which
God, yes.
my personal opinion is that has got in the way big time, big time. I would not want to be a teenage girl now. And how the hell do you
It's
seriously? It's that it
yeah.
really is. For the bits that I've seen are when I was young. That was so unusual. It was
Yeah.
really unusual. If you met someone that watched porn, it's, oh God, really? Now, how do you meet someone who doesn't?
This takes me back to the intimacy thing, right? Because I think there is porn out there that people specifically like independent agencies and things, and there's some great women trying to produce porn that is ethical and where there isn't and not harmful, right? But I have so many feelings about the consumption of porn nowadays. I'm not going to kink shame anyone, like a kink is a kink, etc. But there's all of these studies coming out with strangulation in porn, and that a partner is significantly more likely to murder you if he is engaging in that kind of behavior with you. On loads of these sites, there's women who are being trafficked, or things are happening to them that they didn't sign up for and didn't agree to, and they're leaving bruised and all of the underage stuff. And I think,
and particularly if alcohol is in the mix.
of course, and because of course, I know I've spoken to so many women, not on my show, but who are in the industry and who relied heavily on drugs and alcohol to get through it.
Yeah.
And I do think that porn serves its purpose if it's like ethical, right? But I do think that it has changed the way that a lot of people have sex. And I think it can be particularly dangerous for women, right?
Yeah.
If a guy is used to watching things where like a woman is just being constantly strangled or hit or spat on. And it scares me. And it scares me because what I now love about sex is exactly what it wasn't for me in the past. In the past, it was detached. It wasn't loving. I wasn't connected to my body. And now sex for me is about intimacy, feeling that connection, feeling connected to my body, being in the moment, not performing and not thinking, how do I look right now? Do I need to be making a certain noise? Whatever, just being is beautiful. I think sex is a really beautiful thing. I just think we need to be more open about it. And then also to ensure that there are safe spaces for everybody. Yeah.
So communication is the big one then, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
And
just
any,
enjoy it.
any other tips that you give someone who is sober and about to step out onto the dating scene, knowing that this moment is going to be coming and
I would say this is a really difficult one to actually do in practice, and I still work on it. But it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about you. So long as you were showing up and you were being kind and you were like living by your values, who gives a fuck what anybody thinks about you? What Billy I go on a date with thinks about me isn't any of my business. And just have fun with it. I don't know, I looked at it like a way to get to know myself too. And that's really exciting. And no one knows what they're doing when it comes to dating.
No.
And
That's
nobody
true.
knows.
And so where are you at now then? Are you still dating?
God.
You don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
It's okay. Newly dating somebody. So I've been dating them for 3 or so months. So newly dating someone. That was another thing, right? I had my first proper relationship in sobriety with a really wonderful person, and it wasn't working out. And I was able to leave that gracefully without being a dick.
That. I'm really glad you mentioned that. That's such an important one. I've had so many clients who, it makes it sound like all my clients have ended up breaking up. They haven't, but I have had an awful lot of clients who have quit alcohol. They've realized that it's time for their relationship to end for whatever reason. In some cases, it always was going to end. It was just being prolonged. But by being sober, exactly as you said, they've been able to do the whole thing with compassion. Even very difficult long-term relationships have ended with just a little rubber stamp. No need for expensive lawyers. They can actually be completely grown up and amicable. And imagine how life would change if
Oh my
it
God,
was
right?
the divorce lawyers would be out of a job.
But it is not easy. There was everything in me when that was going on that wanted to at times make comments or say my piece, but it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It just didn't matter. And I don't know. It's constantly learning. And let me tell you, I fucked up in dating, if there's such a thing. I haven't always been, and I'm still not.
But as you said, what's the benchmark? Because nobody knows what they're doing.
whatever.
I think what you said at the beginning is the truth, really, isn't it? It's just about coming back to who you are, really. That's all that matters. And when you're properly authentic in who you really are, that's the power, I think. And that's what sobriety can give you. It's really hard to actually properly be authentic and stay true to who you are when you're pouring toxic liquid in every day. It's hard, isn't it? Really hard. And you're a journalist as well. Let me just realize, so you've been doing investigative stuff around addiction and eating disorders and stuff.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of looking into malpractice within the industry, specifically looking at where government funding is lacking.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And things like rehab brokering in the UK and in the US, and I also have, because we touched on the porn thing, did an investigation a year ago on an underground revenge porn ring in the UK.
Oh, wow.
On Telegram, that was created by guys as a sort of form of revenge to girls having a Facebook group where they discussed if these men were safe or not.
Wow, how fascinating. I mean, back on the what was it, the money the government in terms of UK addiction services, right? It's very interesting because I don't know whether, but I'm a sober coach, and I also train people to be sober coaches. And we don't work with people at rock bottom or clinically dependent, but we work with people who are helping people who know it's time to quit and they're drinking more than they want to. But the really interesting piece is that, of course, because we don't work with people who are at rock bottom or clinically dependent, if we were to come across someone who needs that kind of help, we have to say, I'm really sorry, that's not my qualification. I'm not trained to work with you. Why don't you go here? And that's where it all falls apart.
Yeah.
Because across the UK, there's nothing joined up. The only thing we can say at the moment is go to your GP, but that's hit and miss, to say the least.
So
and then
hit and
in
miss.
some areas, you hear that there are some really good trusts that are putting together some stuff for alcohol services providers in the area. And then there are other areas where there's nothing, or it's nothing appropriate. I remember speaking to one woman who said to me, the only thing that I have been offered is a daily meeting, but I work and that's my only stability right now. So she would have to stop work, which is her stability, to go to a meeting. That's the only help available to her. How crazy is that?
Yeah, and I think there's also not a lot of training for medics when it comes to addiction.
No, absolutely. Certainly not early stages.
Yeah,
that's a huge.
We're
going to get off on one now.
Oh my God, I could talk about that forever. It's a huge issue, and I think cross addiction. They also don't look out for that.
No,
like
absolutely.
If you're seeing someone who has an eating disorder, look into if
look
there's something
at
with
the
foods,
alcohol. Absolutely.
or look into neurodiversity. Connect these pieces early on. Get people therapy early on. Like the difference that something like that can make is immense.
And then also, it's this piece of why can't we do some of this stuff before the horse is bolted? That's a very old-fashioned expression, but why don't we do it first? It's utterly crazy that people who've heard this podcast will know, they've heard me say it 1,000 times, but when I was drinking, I was not at rock bottom, but I was drinking every bloody day. And when I eventually was brave enough to mention it to a GP, I'd gone for something else. I'd gone for a vitamin D test. But on the way out, I said, oh, by the way, I'm a little bit worried about my drinking. It took a lot for me to say that. It really did. I felt very safe with her, and it wouldn't happen now. They don't give you an extra minute at the door, but back then they did. And I just said, actually, I'm worried about my drinking. And she just literally looked at me and said, you look fine. How much are you drinking? Obviously,
this is
I lied.
The thing.
They know you lie. So I lied. And I said 2-3 glasses a night, sometimes a bit more. And she just went, absolutely normal. Just have the odd alcohol-free day, yeah? Like I hadn't thought of that. Like I hadn't thought of, I won't drink tonight. There you go. And I went out of that surgery. We're like, oh, thank God. I'm completely normal. She says there's nothing to worry about. That kept me stuck for another 5 years.
It's so true. I
didn't need her to tell me. I didn't need her to say, oh, you're right, and I must stop too. She ain't going to stop. She just needed to tell me, you know what? Well done you for knowing it's not serving you. Now, let me point you in the direction of the sober club, or if I'd had it then, or some support, because there are loads of people choose not to drink. And I understand that they're loving it. That's all she needed to do, right? Because it was not appropriate for me to start going to any kind of, I didn't need alcohol services. I just needed someone to understand, let's help this person. Let's give this person some encouragement before she heads further down the booze elevator. Right?
Yeah.
I do that piece.
Yeah, I was continually saying, I binge ate and I binge drank again. And the idea that I had a problem wasn't mentioned to me, because I think that there's still this stereotype of what an alcoholic looks like.
Yeah,
or
totally.
what someone with a drinking
and they
problem
can't work
looks
with
like.
you until you are literally in the gutter.
And that's also a funding issue, unfortunately, right? I don't know the exact figure anymore, but it's something like only 2% of people will get referred by the NHS for residential care.
That's right.
And there are other things out there that are free, and 12-step fellowships, all of this stuff, etc. But even that, it's not really, people aren't signposted to these things enough.
No.
And yeah, I have a lot of feelings about it. The amount of deaths that are actually alcohol related, but just aren't recorded as alcohol is insane.
Oh, it'd be huge. It'd be huge, won't it? And yeah, exactly. With all the various illnesses, in so many illnesses, that the illness will have been exacerbated by alcohol. It's just that you don't get that on the death certificate.
Exactly.
And,
so it just doesn't make sense why we're not investing more in early stage help and prevention and therapy, right?
Yeah. Just back on, I just want to ask you something back on in terms for you, when you got sober, how did that impact on the binge eating?
So basically, it was my eating disorder that really brought me to my knees. That's why I wanted to kill myself. I didn't realize that the booze was also part of why.
Yeah.
But I just knew that if I were to drink again, I would binge eat again. And then I would have my bulimia again, and that would be it. I was walking 40,000 steps a day. Half my hair had fallen out of my head. I was eating out of a bin, and I was really... People don't talk about how dark and an eating disorder really gets. It's just that, oh, she doesn't eat.
Yeah.
Or it's like a skinny white woman thing, when actually it affects minority communities significantly more, and they're less likely to get help and all of this stuff. But I had help from this one woman in particular with my eating disorder who'd recovered from it herself. And just seeing that was possible was such a game changer. And she just told me everything that I knew about food and about my body and about exercise was bullshit. And it was just really a fake it till I make it situation. And just introducing little things like having a fear food of mine every single day for a week until it neutralizes, or going easy on myself, going slowly, realizing that it's not going to be linear. And I cannot believe that I have the relationship I do now with my body or with food. I don't think about it at all now. And that's such a blessing, but really affected my love life. I used to not want to go to restaurants with guys, or I would go on a date, and if I did eat something, I would panic, and I'd go home and I would hit the fuck it button and I would binge eat. And then I wouldn't want to see them again. And in early recovery too, I'd get very stressed. And now it just isn't something I think about. And that for me is just, I just didn't even think I was going to be alive, right? So it's
I know it's super obvious to say this, but the reality is, when you can come back to recognizing that you can actually take care of yourself and you actually like yourself, or dare I say it, the self-love word, someone who loves themselves doesn't want to self-harm. That's the reality, isn't it?
You know what? It is, but also I really believe in the whole thing of other people had to love me before I could love myself.
Yeah.
And not in the sense of like poor Paul from a dating app, right? But my community.
Yeah.
And there are times where the thoughts in my head can crop back and can be a little harsher to myself than normal. But now it's recognizing that and knowing it's bullshit. It's just a thought. It's not a reality. It's not the reality.
Exactly. You are not your thoughts. Yeah.
You just aren't your thoughts. Yeah.
Amazing. What an amazing transformation. You should be so proud of yourself. And I'm jealous of you, so I wish I'd done it when I was your age. That's my only regret. Why the hell didn't I do this sooner? Oh, God.
You are still a spring chicken, all right?
But well done you. It's great. And just sharing this, I just know, though, it's really powerful, because you're absolutely right. The A lot of people keep the alcohol piece silent, the eating disorder piece even more. That's the secretive bit, that so often happens. And even just bringing the stuff about sex out into the open and relationships. Again, these are all things that people just crack on with, and they think they're the only ones. That's the thing, isn't it?
Nobody is.
Everyone thinks they're the only one going through this.
For men too, right? Like men really struggle with eating disorders.
Yeah.
They really do. And with depression, their suicide rates are higher, everything.
That's true.
Everybody is going through something or touched by someone who is.
Yeah.
And so we just need to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just need to absolutely. Just by sharing it and the fact that you've got through it and you can actually love yourself now. It's amazing. So tell us about the podcast, tell us where we can find it and anything else you want to share.
Sure. So the show is How to Get Wet When You're Dry. It's all about love and lust without the liquor.
I love it.
And you can find us all over the podcast platforms, and then on social media across everything. We are at Wet When Dry.
Nice.
And another one just quick thing to say on that too is a very dear friend of mine who is sober and also a sex and relationships therapist, Miss Sally O'Sullivan. She comes on sometimes and we answer listener questions about dating, relationships, sober living, whatever. So if you have them, send them to us on Instagram because we fucking love them.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much for being my guest. I really appreciate it. I wish you all the best. And I'd love to meet up if you're in London.
I would love to.
Let's do
and
something.
Thank you for having me.
Come to one of my events or something.
I would love
we'll do something
to.
together. It'd be great fun.
That would be
brilliant. Thanks so much.
Thanks
really
so
appreciate
much.
it.
Have a great rest of
Bye.
the day. Bye.
And you.
Bye.
Details in the show notes, and a reminder that I'm speaking at the Mind Body Spirit Show Friday 22nd of May. Go to the show notes, click on the link and let me know if you grab a ticket and we can meet up. I'd love to have a little cup of tea afterwards with some Sober Club members or Alcohol Free Life podcast listeners. The couple of weekends after that, June the 6th, I'm going to be in Derby at the Be More You event, or near East Midlands Airport, I should say. And again, the details there will be in the soberclub.com/events. And just a reminder, if you've quit the booze, if you're thinking, actually, this thing about being a sober coach, being a life coach, supporting grey area drinkers, I'm interested in that. Even if you're just a little bit curious, then register for our free webinar. It's Thursday, 14th of May at 7:30. And it would be great to have you. It's absolutely no pressure. I'm going to have a chat with Polly, one of the coaches I've trained, about what it's like for her and what it might mean for you. So join us for that if you're interested. And keep me posted as to how you're getting on and what you're doing. Because as I say, every week, if you are early days, don't do this on your own. Just always, always, always tell someone. Tell me if you like. Of course, I'd love it if you join us in the Sober Club. There is so much there. We have a whole course, Get the Buzz Without the Booze. We've got a whole library of amazing content, exclusive content in there, wellbeing stuff that you won't find anywhere else. Got amazing free gifts, hypnosis audios, just a ton of lovely stuff. And of course, our non-judgmental community. So of course, I'd love you to join the Sober Club. But if that's not for you, just tell someone anyway. You can absolutely drop me a message and I'll just hold the vision for you. That's it. Just knowing somebody else knows might be the thing that makes the difference. And don't forget, this is the most important thing you will ever do for your health and well-being. Quit alcohol. Whatever else you got going on, quit alcohol. And from that place, you'll be so much more resilient to deal with other stuff. So I will see you same time next week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.